Hey tribe! Today we're going to talk about Zen doodles. Now, the name for them really is Zentangle, but Zentangle is a copyrighted word. And this whole art movement started probably back in 2007, 2008. And I jumped on the bandwagon about 2010. This is when they were just starting to train Zentangle facilitators, people who could actually were licensed to teach this method. But since 2010, 2011, Zentangle has really exploded, and it's an amazing art form. And the founders, Rick and Maria Thomas, found out that just by removing barriers and fears that people have over creating art, and by creating a boundary for you to make art in and to do repetitive patterning, it made a Zen-like feeling in the brain, and it allowed people to get into the flow. So I want to show you a few things that Zentangle, actually I'm going to call them from here on out Zen Doodles, since I'm not licensed to teach the official product, even though I teach it in school. I'm going to show you kind of what they are and how to do one. Okay, so give me just a second. I'm going to reposition the camera and we'll get started. Here we go. Okay, so I've got my sketchbook here, and I've got a couple of things that I want to show you. First of all, Zentangle, Zen Doodles, when they first came out, they came out in this little kit, and one year I gifted this to myself for my birthday. It was kind of pricey back in 2010. It was about 50 bucks, but it was the best gift. The best gift I've ever bought myself, because it really propelled me into being able to make art all on my own. So this is made out of, it's covered with handmade paper. It's kind of like a little box, and you see there it says Zentangle on it. And so we open this little deal, and there is a CD in it. It's actually a DVD. And it shows you all kinds of Zentangle patterns. Here is a supply of Zentangle towels. Well, I'll show you these to you in a minute. This is really fine linen paper, and the ink that they recommend that you use really goes into the linen paper very, very nicely. You do not have to have these to do Zen Doodles. And what I'm going to show you today is just a method where anybody can make them. You don't have to have this kit. I'm just showing you what is available to you. And I don't get any kickback from this. I don't have any affiliate link. I don't have anything other than just telling you that the Zentangle itself made a big difference in my artistic life. So here's some towels. And with the kit comes an instruction book. So it gives you instructions about different tangles, they call them, the different patterns. So it'll show you exactly what to do first, what to do second, what to do third, first, second, third, fourth. It numbers them, if you can see that. The way I look at Zentangles is it's a layering process. So once I put down the first layer, what can I do? Once I put down this first layer, then what can I do to make it more? What can I do to make it more? What can I do to make it more? And I look at every single one of them as, how can I make this a little bit more complicated and a little bit more intricate? So before I go on, I want to show you some of my very first tangles, and then we're going to go into how to do this stuff. So I believe that this one was probably my very first one. Yeah, this was a sampler that I did. So messing around on some of these. I really liked this one. That's when I first started learning to shade and to use value, which I'm going to show you how to do today. Now look at the difference between something like this that doesn't have any value in it whatsoever. And by value, I mean like shading to make it look three-dimensional. And then how the shading will make the other one look really three-dimensional. You see that? So here's another one, and these are just like lines and patterns, but I've learned the secrets of how to make them look three-dimensional, right? And I'm going to teach that to you today. So let me move these. Once I teach you this method, you can go crazy. So that's kind of what I have done. I've made these as gifts. I've given them away. Here's one that I did just a watercolor wash on the background. I let it dry. This is just plain watercolor paper, you know, just plain like you can buy at the store, plain watercolor paper, and then I drew the pattern on it, and then I went back and I added value. I used to make these all the time, these little itty bitty ones, and those are pretty cool. So anyway, there's the Zentangle kit. One of the things I really super like about this Zentangle kit is that it has everything that you need to get started. It has a couple of pens. Now I've added pens to this. These are Micron pens, Sakura Micron. Now these have numbers. I think this one is an 01. The numbers have to do with how fine the tip is. So look at how, I don't know if you can even see that, how little that tip is, okay, compared to, that's an 01, compared to, oh, here's an 08. So that's going to be, okay, so let's look at the two tips. This, I hope that you can tell, on the top is the 01, the little itty bitty tip, and then see this really bold tip on the bottom, that's an 08. So that's how the number system goes. The further down you go, the finer the tip gets. The further up you go, the bolder the tip gets. And you can see that I haven't stuck with just Zentangle or just Micron pens. Listen, I get Sharpie pens, and I found that I think that these last a little bit longer, the Sharpie pens. Another thing I like about this too is that it comes with a dice. So if you don't know what to do and don't know which one to pick, they have a little deal here where everything is numbered, right? The pattern's numbered, and so all you have to do is roll the dice. And number 16, well, I haven't got my reading glasses on, but number 16 right there, that's what I would start to draw. And so it's like a no-fail deal. They want you to succeed at this thing, and so they've tried to do the most amazing thing to help you succeed. Very quickly, I don't want to make this video really, really long. I want to show you this product. This is called a Zendala, like a mandala. And so what they've done is they put pre-printed different designs on round paper. Now these are probably 4 or 5 inches round, and they're all different. So you tangle the different patterns, and let me show you a few of them that I've done. Right, my Native American one. I've actually had this one put on a card before. And see how three-dimensional that looks? I'm going to show you how to do that. It is so unbelievably easy. When you learn, your mind's going to be blown. Just blown. And there's another one that I did. These are so much fun. Just a lot of fun. So there's that. Okay. So the first thing you're going to need to do when you create a Zentangle, and I'm going to show you, I keep saying Zentangle, I need to say Zendoodle. First thing you're going to need to do is, let me turn this around so we'll have a little bit more area. Okay. You're going to need to make dots. So you're going to make a dot at each corner of the page. All right, each corner of the page. I'm going to draw these a little bigger so you can see them. I hope you can see them. There's dots. Okay, that's the first thing you need to do. This gives you already a boundary. One of the things people have a biggest fear of when they first start to create art is that there's a blank page and they don't know how to start. Well, I've already helped you start. You've made 4 dots. There's already marks on the page, right? The second thing you do is you create a border. Again, this is going to give us a boundary to create art in, right? And it makes people feel a little bit more secure. So the boundary can be any kind of line you want. You're just going to connect the dots. I might want to put a little loop here. You might just want to make a straight line. And if you're really OCD, throw that puppy out the window. Throw that ruler out the window, because we are right braining it. Right, guys? We are right braining it. Yes. So let's connect this other one. Okay. So we've got the dots. We have the border. And now we are going to make what they call a string. All a string is a continuous line that further divides this whole space up. Okay, so some people like to make it in the shape of an N, of a letter. You can make an M, or you could make an A, or you could do any sort of thing. I really tend to lean towards organic lines, so I'm just going to make this, and then I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm going to draw a line there. Okay. So I've got my dots, I've got my border, and I made a string, okay? In this string right here, when you first start doing these, I would not draw any more than probably 2 or 3 lines tops, okay? I'm talking continuous lines. You want to divide this up into 4 or 5 spaces, all right? Now let me go and let's start on some patterns. I want to show you this really cool pattern that is so unbelievably easy, and I don't even remember what it's called, but when I remember what it's called, I'll post it on the thread. So I'm just going to draw a line, and I've kind of curved that because this is a round object, so I want it kind of curved. You can make it straight if you want. And then I'm going to draw another line, so it's crisscrossed, right? And then I'm going to draw a crisscross on that, and one more crisscross on that. Okay, so I've just divided that page up. This pattern starts from the bottom left always. Now, I think I'm going to have to draw upside down so you guys can see this. It always starts from the bottom left, all right? Yeah. I'll go back and fix that later. Don't worry, it's fixable. I'm going to do this upside down, okay? So I can make sure that I do it right. I'm going from the bottom left of my bottom left, and I'm going to go up, make a little triangle, up, make a little triangle. You're going to go in just a little bit every time, and you're going to draw up and over, make a little triangle, go in just a little bit, make a little triangle, make a little triangle. And when I say triangle, it's when I draw this. I'm going to put this up here so you can see it. Do you see that? And so I just keep drawing this. I'll include this pattern, make sure I include this pattern in the printables. And I just keep doing that, right? So then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to start drawing right here so you can see how this whole thing goes together. Up and over, draw your little triangle. Up and over, draw the triangle. And from then, it's pretty repetitive. So up and over, and you're going to turn it. Start from that left-hand side again. Up and over. Draw your little triangle. And when you get finished, this thing is going to do 2 things. Number 1, it's going to look like a star. It's a repetitive pattern that when it comes together, it looks like a star. And number 2, it's going to look like a little bitty wrapped, almost like wrapped bandages. It's the coolest thing in the world. So you can see how when you just really get into it and you just start making these things, they're so much fun. So up and over, up and over, up and over. And see how I'm always making my little triangles there when I finish the up and over pattern. Up and over, up and over. And listen, you could put on just some really cool music, soothing music, and just listen to this. And I have done this when I was stressed before and just sat down because I felt the need to create. And I started drawing, and before I knew it, seriously, like 2 or 3 hours had passed and my stress was gone, and I had this beautiful piece. that I thought, hey, this doesn't look half bad, right? Over, over, a little triangle. Okay, now look at the pattern that makes. Isn't that the coolest thing in the world? It looks like a little star wrapped all up or woven. I think it's really cool. Another one that I really, really like is, if you divide this, I would recommend when you first learn this pattern that you divide this into some kind of a square or a series of squares, and I want to show you exactly how I do this. So you see how I do that? I drew the line across, and then I just made 3, 4 squares, right? Okay, so here's how this one works. I'm going to hold this up here so you can see this. The easiest way when you first start this pattern, I'm going to start in this one square here, is to start from, let me see again. I'm going to do, yeah, your bottom. I'm going to start from the bottom left. The bottom left. This is your bottom left. I'm having to transpose everything because I'm doing this backwards. And bottom left. Yeah, I hope this is right, y'all. This should be your bottom left. And I'm going to draw from the corner. I'm going to draw a line up, and I'm going to go slightly up from the corner. Did you see that? Stop. Pick up your pen. Turn this around. Start where you stopped. Do the exact same thing. Draw from this corner, right? You just made a corner. Draw from the corner and go up just a little bit. You see that? Turn it again. Do the same thing again. Start where you stopped. Can you see that? And turn the paper again. With Zen tangles, Zen doodles, start where you stop, right? Do you see how you're getting kind of a little bit of a rotation there? Start where you stop. Now, I'm going to put this here, and I'm just going to draw it out for you. So when I start here, I've done this so many times that I don't have to turn. But if you have to turn, I did when I first started to do this, and it's okay. So you draw here, start where you stop. If you have to, pick up your pen. Start from this corner you just made and go ahead and draw the same kind of line. And then once you start drawing it, it looks very complicated and very mathematical. You may not be able to do this this fast when you first start, but I've been doing this for a long time. Usually people that are very left-brained pick up on this thing very quickly. Now look at that. Isn't that the coolest thing in the world? Now watch when I do it the same way on the square next to it. They form this super cool pattern. Do you see that? It's very geometric and it's beautiful, and I love how it works. So, and this works with any shape. You can do this with any shape that you have. And you can finish it however you want to finish it. But you see, I kind of did that one a little different. But it works so super cool, and it fills it up, and it's really amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this with this pen. I just want you to be able to see this. Next pattern, really quickly. We start off this pattern with dots, all right? So I'm going to go to another one. I'm going to go to another page, and I'm going to show you on this page because I think it would be easier than trying to do it right here. And then I'll go back. So we're going to start this with dots. So you're going to make at least 4 dots and make them about a fingertip apart. You don't want them super close. So It's just like you're playing that dot game, right? When you were a little kid. Remember how you used to play the dots? You see that? Okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to think to yourself, over, under, over, under, over, under, right? So you're going to start here at the bottom, and you're going to go under, over, under the dot, over the dot, under the dot, over the dot, under the dot, over the dot, under the dot, over the dot. Now you're going to do that to the next one. Under the dot, over the dot. And I color it in again. Under the dot, over the dot. Color it in. Under the dot, over the dot. Color it in. Under, over, color. Under, over, color. You see that? Okay, so under, over, color. 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 All right, so I've got these connected. Now I'm gonna connect the vertical lines, and I'm gonna do exactly the same. Under, over, or to the left, to the right, color. You can do however you need to do it. If you need to turn the paper and do the patterns the same way, then you can do the patterns the same way. However you need to do it. But the lines, those first lines you drew, this is a pattern you're gonna do. And you know what? These are just lines. We're not looking at anything. We're not trying to draw something that copy something like we did last week with the upside down drawing. These are just lines. Look at that. Look at how amazing that looks. Now I want to show you one more thing. I'm going to show you a little shading technique, about what a little value can do, right, and how it makes a big difference. I'm also going to teach you this week how to make your own blending stump. If you've never used a blending stump before, these things are magical. This one, I think this is one that I made. You can buy these. I've got it on my supply list, but you know, you don't have to buy everything that's on there. So I've got that, and I've got a little 2B pencil. 2B pencils are fine to use with this because they'll blend well. Now, here is the deal for, I'm going to turn this up for just a second because I want you to look at me. Here is the rule for shading. So, two things that you want to remember, okay? Whenever something meets or wherever it overlaps, there's always a shadow. It doesn't matter if it's noon. Still, if something meets or overlaps and the sun is shining up overhead, your light source is coming from above. Anytime something meets, right? Something meets or overlaps, there is a slight shadow. So whenever you want to push something back, I'll pull it back to me. Whenever you want to push something back on what's called a picture plane, or like the composition, the drawing that you're working on, whenever you want to push something back, if you add a little bit of shadow, if you add a little bit of value, it does wonders. That's why in a lot of my paintings, especially my mandalas that you see, and a lot of other things, I've learned how to use simple shading. It's not anything that like is unbelievable that only people that paint on the ceiling of a Sistine Chapel use, right? So everybody uses this. So I'm going to put the camera back down and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Here we go. It's magical. Okay, so just like I said, wherever something meets or overlaps, there's always going to be a shadow, all right? So let's just say that these are the ones that are on the top. This is on the top, and this one is a little further back. This is a little further back. This is a little further back. This is a little further back. Right now, it just looks like they're just there, right? But if you color, now you see how I'm holding this pencil. I'm not holding it like this. I'm holding it sideways. Hold it sideways and color with it like this. Okay. Give a little bit of a shadow there, and that looks yucky right now, but just trust me here. Right where those things meet, there's always going to be a little shadow, right? Okay, so I can go over here on this side and I can do that too. Where it meets, there's going to be a little shadow, right? So now, and I'm also, let me do this for you first. Here's this little blender, okay? The little blending stump. You're going to take this, and all this thing is a piece of wrapped paper. There is no graphite on it. There is nothing on it. It just moves the pencil marks around that are already on the paper. So if you take this and gently color and blend that out a little bit, ta-da! Look at that. All of a sudden you have value. And you see how it goes from dark to light? That's what you want, because in real life, that's how things work. That's how they are, and that's how they happen. I'll come over here and do that. Blend that out a little bit. Come over here and blend this out a little bit. This stuff is magical. I love it, I love it, I love it. Do you see that? See how much more three-dimensional that looks? Now, if we want to go over here and make this whole thing pop up from the page, we could do this. So right where it surrounds the page, see that? Color this, color this. I'm just putting a little bit of lead, not a lot, a little, right here. And it doesn't even matter if I do it neatly either, because I'm just going to take that blending stump and I'm going to go back and I'm going to fix it all, right? So you get the blending stump, and let's make the magic happen. Let's pour on the magic. All I'm doing is blending that pencil, blending it through here. Oh! Now it looks like there's actually a shadow underneath of it. And I'm moving this around in little circles. You don't have to do that, but these patterns are what I first started doing and creating my intuitive paintings with. And I use, if you look at some of my art, I still use some of these patterns to this day. Look at how sophisticated that looks. And all it is a few lines. I did that in what, 3 minutes? Yeah, it's unbelievable how amazing these things are. So have at it. I will show you some examples of the shading stuff. Let me just do this real quick for you before I go. I'll just show you a little bit of this. So remember our rule. Wherever things meet or wherever they overlap, there's going to be a shadow. So these all meet, but I don't know. I might want to put a little bit of a shadow right here, but I don't want to put very much. But I do want to put a shadow here where these things meet, and this one will go all the way over because this one overlaps, right? So underneath here, just super, super light. Now we'll go through here, and you got to be really careful with these little bitty, very thin shapes here, because if you're not careful, you'll muddy up everything. So look at how this one looks now compared to the rest. You see how much more realistic this looks? So if I went around here and I shaded everything, it would start to look like this is three-dimensional. And listen, this is all about tricking the eye. That's all art is. You trick the eye to make the mind believe it's something that it's not, right? That's all it is. So have fun, post what you've got here, and let's see how much fun you have.